What is up, Sports Geeks? It's your host, Josh, here back with another college basketball episode, joined by Nick. As always, Nick, it has been a while. We took about a month or two off here, but college basketball season did not take a month or two off. The freshmen in college basketball certainly did not take a month or two off. They have been going nuts. The entire college basketball slate in the last 2 months has been spectacular. I mean, we still have an undefeated team, two undefeated teams in Miami of Ohio playing tonight with 0 quad one games on the season. And then we've got Arizona still undefeated too, and they look spectacular. But I mean, this is just shooting the shit basically on college basketball because it's been so long. We have so much to catch up on here, Nick. Let's start with Arizona just because I brought them up there. Obviously, leading the Big 12, still undefeated. Really, the only undefeated team left in my mind because I discredit a lot of what Miami's done. Not discredit, but I don't.
I'm the same way.
View what they've done as an impressive. I would take like a St. Louis team that's 21-1 with a loss against Stanford as a significantly more impressive resume than what Miami's doing. Not saying that if they go undefeated, it's not impressive. Still, just saying that I don't. Arizona's the lone undefeated team in my mind. But this Arizona team is deep. They have a lot of aspects to their game that are good, but shooting is not one of them. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on the Arizona Wildcats here.
I love Arizona. And I think I sent it to you the other night. Arizona's upcoming schedule is quite literally a gauntlet. I mean, if they can somehow get through this without a loss, then it's theirs to take.
Yeah.
When we get to the end of March, because I mean, their upcoming games, they're at home against Oklahoma State. That's probably their last easy one for, I mean, at least till probably March 7th. Because then they go at Kansas, then they have Texas Tech at home, BYU at home, at Houston, at Baylor, which down there, I mean, they haven't been good this year, but at their place will make it difficult. Kansas, Iowa State, and then they end it at Colorado.
Yeah.
I mean, you probably have 2 more easy games left if you take out Oklahoma State. This is the chunk of their schedule where you're really going to find out if Arizona's legit. Obviously, yes, they have legit wins. We've seen it earlier in the year. They've absolutely bullied some teams. They were beating the hell out of BYU, but BYU, with the help of the refs and obviously playing well, got themselves back into that game and had a chance to win it. But you see what they did to Bama. You see what they did to Auburn. You see what they did to UConn, to a ranked UCLA team. Like, this team is legit. I mean, and we've talked about it all year, and we brought it up. They're not a really, good three-point shooting team. Well, they are a good three-point shooting team, but they don't take it a lot. I believe every year under Tommy Lloyd, they've been outside the top 100, 110 in three-point efficiency the times they take it. But then they're top 20 every year on how much they make it.
Yep.
So, and you look at this roster, I mean, it is a roster where you have 3 guards that could literally kill you. And then you're also able to just toss it down low. And you have, probably one of the better big men in, Toby Awaka coming off the bench. This is a guy that could have went anywhere else and probably started in the Power 4. But he loves the system. He loves Tommy Lloyd. And he stayed. And right now, I mean, he's averaging 10 and 10, basically. And he's their 5 coming off the bench. I mean, it's insane. And I think what I'm really impressed with is, early in the year, Braden Burris kind of struggled. I mean, we talked about it, was like, well, he is a really good freshman, top 20 recruit, and he wasn't really showing it. He wasn't really being the guy that some people thought he could be, and he was kind of that lone freshman outside of that top 5, top 7 freshman who, are most likely going to go 1 through 7 in the draft, minus a few people here and there, if that. But then you look and see what he does against BYU. He goes off, and then they got to start doubling him.
Yep.
So then guess what? That means we're leaving Jaden Bradley open. Then they got to start worrying about Jaden Bradley. Then Kobe Pete's open. I mean, this team, they're just so deep. And it's going to be interesting to see. My only worry is, and I honestly don't even believe it anymore after watching them play, is the 3 freshmen that start. That's the only thing that scares me when it comes to March. We know this. We've seen it. If they can get through this gauntlet, they'll have no problem in March. And I think the freshman March woes won't be real with this team.
Well, I think the difference between this team and like a typical, and I know this is the team we always reference, right, when we say like your freshman woes, is the Purdue team that lost to FDU, right, because you're led by Braden Smith and Fletcher Loyer, who, by the way, are going to be a very good backcourt in March Madness this year because they're both seniors, right? But when you're freshmen, very, very difficult, right? That's the team that we always compare them to. But I think the difference between this team and a team like that is that you have Jaden Bradley. Jaden Bradley is the reason that this Arizona team is national championship contending good, is probably the favorite right now. I don't know the odds off the top of my head, probably the favorite to
Yeah.
win it because of Jaden Bradley. If you have a team that's led by Braden Burries, right? He is leading them in scoring. Don't get me wrong. Koa Pete's their second leading scorer, right? And Jaden Bradley's right behind him. And if you take Jaden Bradley off of this team, when you need a tough bucket, when
You're
you're
not
playing
getting it.
when you're playing on the road and it's loud and Houston's pressing up on you,
Yep.
what are you going to do? You lean on Jaden Bradley. Look, go watch the UConn game over again, right? When you're
Yeah.
playing UConn, and I believe that game was at UConn, and it's
Yes.
a very, very tough environment to play in, right? It is blisteringly loud. You can't hear yourself think, right? The crowd's going nuts, and you need a bucket because you're down early. Who do you go to? You go to Jaden Bradley, and he goes and gets you settled in. You land on your feet, and then you can continue to play from there. I think the difference in having a senior guard that can elevate your team's play and just calm things down for your entire team is so important, and that's exactly what Jaden Bradley does. And then you have obviously the freshman talent behind him as well. Their Big 12 schedule has not been impressive yet, right?
Yeah.
I mean, look at who they've played. They have not played Houston yet. They have not played Texas Tech yet, right? Obviously, the BYU win is impressive, and they have plenty of non-conference games, right? You beat UCLA, you beat UConn, you beat Florida on opening night. It's not like you don't have a good resume, right? It's not like you're a Miami of Ohio. Not to take another shot at them. But it's not like you don't have a good resume. It's just that the gauntlet of a Big 12 that it is, right? The Big 12 is comparable to like the SEC of last year.
Yeah.
Is you haven't gone through the gauntlet yet, but the next month you do. And very curious to see how Arizona, they're obviously, maybe not obviously, but they're going to drop a game here or there. I would
agree.
Finish the season with 3 losses. Given that, they should probably be the number 1 overall seed unless really Michigan wins out, I think.
No, I think I agree with that. And I mean, you're right. It's honestly kind of crazy that the Big 12 backloaded their schedule as hard as they did.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I get it. But at the same time, if you're the Big 12 putting the schedule together, you know that you basically gave them – I mean, if Baylor wouldn't have tripped up, you would have had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games in a row basically to end the year of all ranked teams. And obviously that's probably what they want. But usually if you're trying to get that top overall seed and you think Arizona is your chance to do that, you usually don't backload them with that tough of a conference schedule down the stretch. But honestly, it makes it a lot better basketball for us. And, you know, like we said, this is a team that they got challenged in the non-con, and they really haven't been challenged in conference play yet, besides a win at BYU and a win at UCF, which that UCF win is inching closer and closer to still being a really, really good quad 1 win. They won again on Saturday against Texas Tech. And, you know, this is a Texas Tech team that if they don't figure it out might start sliding as well. But, I mean, that's another huge win eventually, which will become a ranked win. In my eyes, I see UCF. They will fall into the rankings. They're playing really good basketball. And, I mean, that's just another, like I said, ranked quad 1 win that you can throw in Arizona's bucket as they just continue to dominate. But we'll see down the stretch. I think, you know, it's a safe bet that they will lose one of these games. I don't know which one. I could easily see them going to Houston and losing. I think this is a Houston team that at home is really, really tough to deal with. Or even at Kansas, with the way Kansas has been playing. They will probably lose one game, but I don't think it's going to be enough to where this loss then snowballs and then we start seeing this Arizona team not fall off a cliff, but get to the tournament time and they have 5 losses. I don't think that's even remotely close to happening.
Yeah, I think the only thing that I want to stress here with this Arizona team is I know I already compared this year's Big 12 to last year's SEC. I'm going to go ahead and compare this year's Arizona to last year's Auburn, right? And I think the huge aspect of this, right, and maybe not necessarily in play style, but in the way that their season's shaping up, a huge thing is if Arizona is going to clinch the Big 12 regular season title with 3 games left, what you run into, and it's exactly what Auburn ran into last year where they clinched it with like 3 or 4 games left, right? They clinched it with that win at Kentucky, and all of a sudden the next couple games don't necessarily matter. We know we're going to be a 1 seed in March Madness. We know we're going to be the 1 seed in the SEC tournament. Maybe we can lay off the gas pedal. All of a sudden now some things start to maybe, deformulate, right?
Yeah,
Teams
start to sleepwalk.
Cohesive, you're not playing cohesive basketball like you were. So, you're sleepwalking through. So that would be the only thing to watch. And I think Tommy Lloyd's a very good coach. I think he's going to have them playing hard. But the thing is if you clinch clinch with 3 games remaining, the psychological aspect of that, where you're playing 3 meaningless games, and then you're going into the most meaningful games of the year, is just a little bit interesting, because I think last year the only thing with Auburn was you peaked too early, right?
Yeah, no,
Florida
we
peaked
talked
at the
about
correct
that.
time. Auburn peaked too early.
Yes.
With this year, Arizona, same thing with like Michigan. You got to make sure you're not peaking too early. You are playing extremely good basketball right now.
Yeah.
You can't peak too early. But let's talk about the Wolverines. I mean, it pains me to say this as a Michigan State fan, right? But this Michigan Wolverines team is very, very good.
Yeah.
They are. I think during Feast Week, everyone kind of was like, okay, are they the real deal? Because they just beat the absolute crap out of everybody.
Yeah, I mean, they were winning that was when they won,
wins.
5 games in a row by 30 plus or something like
that?
And
3 straight ranked games by 40
Yeah.
points.
Yep.
And it was spectacular what they were doing. But I think this Michigan team, the only Achilles heel that they have is kind of defending the 3-point line and turning the ball over.
Yes.
If they take care of the ball, and it's not like it's a turning the ball over like every game you struggle, but when they turn the ball over, I watched back like to the Michigan State game this past Friday, right, which was a great game, by the way. Not as a Michigan State fan, but a good game. When things went wrong for Michigan is when they began to turn the ball over.
Yep.
When they start to turn the ball over, they snowball. And it starts to pile up quick. They can get in a run where they'll turn it over 4, 5, 6 times in a span of 7 or 8 possessions.
Yeah.
And that can't happen when you're playing against good teams, right? I mean, you let a Michigan State team that couldn't shoot the 3-point line, couldn't shoot the 3 ball back into a game when they were down 18.
Yeah. Yep.
If you're playing a team like Alabama or even a team like Arizona who doesn't shoot it a ton but shoots it at an efficient clip, or Wisconsin, right? We saw what happened when Wisconsin visited Ann Arbor. When you're playing a team that can shoot the 3 ball really well, that can get dangerous if you're going to turn the ball over and dig yourself a hole. Having said that, when they don't turn the ball over, this Michigan team looks unbeatable. First half against Michigan State, they looked unbeatable. I mean, when they played Gonzaga during Feast Week, they didn't even look.
Yeah.
They were unbeatable. It didn't matter what Gonzaga did. It didn't matter what Mark Few's game plan was. They were going to lose that game by 20 plus. And this Michigan Wolverines team is very deep, very, very deep. They've got a stud guard coming off the bench in Trey McKinney. You have your experienced guard in Elliot Cadeau that's been to the dance. And then you have, obviously, the interior presence down low. So I think realistically this team's very good. They play very good defense. They can shoot the 3 ball really well. The only thing that I think could pile up on them is if Cadeau specifically gets into a little bit of a turnover game, this team could pile I could see a loss if in a bad matchup in March Madness, but this team's spectacular.
I would 100% agree with this. And, back to the turnovers, a perfect game was a few weeks ago when they were at home against Ohio State. And they were losing most of the first half. And you look and you see, and there's like the under 8 timeout, and they already have 9 turnovers in the first half. And they literally kept Ohio State in that game. There was a reason it was only a 3-point, it was a 3-point game at half. Turnovers. They were making the dumbest passes I think I've ever seen. And this isn't only on Elliot Cadeau. Because, I mean, he had 8 assists in the game to his 4 turnovers. Yeah, 4 turnovers is too much for him.
Yep.
But then you look at what Mara was doing down low. He had some of the dumbest passes I've ever seen to either Morez Johnson or Yaxel Lendenborg. It's like, what are you doing? Mm-hmm. Like, you have to eliminate those passes. I mean, you're so much bigger and physical than almost every team you play, and it shows. I mean, you look at what you start in your offensive, 3 through 5, it's insane. You were just able to bully teams. And I think this is a team that we might have seen them almost peak at the beginning once conference play started, because they had a stretch where you're like, this isn't the Michigan team that we saw, in non-conference. This is not the same team. Like they went on a stretch in conference.
The at Penn State game was we almost lose.
They
followed up by a loss.
They followed up with a loss, and then they have at Washington they only win by 10, at Oregon they only win by 10. You're like, all right, this is a little weird. Like we saw what you did early in the year. Why are you struggling against these middle to low Big Ten teams? Well, really low Big Ten team in Oregon, who's probably going to be the worst team in the league. You're going to their place and only struggling to win by 10. You're not playing as an offensive unit anymore. Your defense is lacking. And you're like, did we see them peak already before they even got to 2 conference games in? Luckily, no. They wrote the ship. They got back on board. Nice double-digit win against Indiana. Obviously, a nice comeback second half double-digit win against Ohio State. And then you rattle off 2 top 10 wins against Nebraska and then at Michigan State. And, you know, I think that's huge. And then like you brought up, though, in the Michigan State game is they weren't ready for that second half, and it showed. You know, Izzo took his team to the locker room. He lit their asses on fire and said, like, look, this is what we're going to do. We're going to come out the second half. We're going to get out. We're going to run. We're going to out-physical them, and we're going to beat them on the defensive end. And they did all that. And Michigan looked scared. You could see they looked scared. It was almost like Dusty May didn't even know what he was doing. He was just standing there, just staring, watching that lead slowly trickle down. And then the fact that, you know, they even let Michigan State come back and take a lead after they let them shoot, 19 or 20% from deep? Like, it never even should have gotten to that.
And then I'll say this,
scares me for Michigan.
Yes, and then but then I'll say this is you were playing at your rival, up 18, and they came back and took the lead in the second half. That place was so loud.
Yeah.
And it pains me to say this as a Michigan State fan. But the way that Michigan responded to that, right? Michigan State takes the lead by 2. You know, Michigan comes down, gets to the line, hits both. Michigan State takes the lead by 2 again. All of a sudden, Will Chatter 3. Now you're up again in the game, and you don't give away the lead. That is so impressive to me as for a team in a extremely harsh environment when you have been you've been winning the entire game. All of a sudden, everything's going wrong. Now you're losing. You've blown a 16-point lead. The crowd's going absolutely nuts. And then you say, you know what? No, we're going to settle down. We're going to get to the free throw line. We're going to run a set, get somebody open for 3, and then we're just going to finish the game out. And I think that's why this Michigan team it is so impressive. That's a game that you should lose when you lose when Michigan State comes back and takes the lead. You should lose the game. You're on the road. You have no momentum. The game should be over. Michigan State should go win that. The fact that you win that's very impressive. But Michigan's got a gauntlet to end the season as well. You look, they've got they've got at Purdue. They have a neutral site against Duke, which is going to be a great game, by the way, on February 21st. But you have at Purdue and then Duke, and then you have Illinois at on the road, at Iowa, and then home against Michigan State to close the year. None of those 3 are easy games. Definitely going to be great games, all 3 of those. And then obviously Purdue and Duke as well. But Michigan team, it looks very, very good. So let's talk about a team that's really, really good at times, specifically when maybe the best player, probably the first overall pick in the upcoming NBA draft plays in Kansas, the Kansas Jayhawks, because Darren Peterson, and we saw it last night, right? So, I mean, this is being recorded on Tuesday. Last night we saw this Kansas-Texas Tech game when Darren Peterson had 2 points in the second half and then says, oh, yeah, by the way, we're down 3. How about I hit a 3 here? Next possession, I'm doing the same damn thing, and we're going to win the game. So I think Darren Peterson, in my opinion, is the clear-cut number 1 overall pick in the NBA draft in what is going to be one of the best NBA drafts ever, right, as far as talent-wise. Darren Peterson is a generational scorer, spectacular offensive player that also doesn't mind sitting his ass down and playing some defense at the same time. And I think the comparisons, it's so hard to compare him to somebody, right? Scores the ball like Kobe. I know Jay Billis loves to say that, right? I've heard Anthony Edwards comparisons. I don't necessarily know. Darren Peterson is just a unique player. I don't know if there's a direct player comp for him. But realistically, I think that Darren Peterson on this Kansas Jayhawks team, when he plays a full game, they are so good. But he has some injury concerns. It's a concern to me if you're going to say, I need you to play a full game Thursday and then a full game Saturday.
Exactly.
Right? Or when it comes to Big 12 tournament time, when you say, hey, by the way, in a week and a half, we have to play in March Madness, and I need you to play 3 games in a row. I don't know if he can do that.
I don't, at least not right now.
No. So I wouldn't be surprised if over the next month he's very cautious with him. But long story short, this Kansas Jayhawks team, when he plays, might be favored on a neutral court over just about anybody.
Yeah, I mean, he's a stud. Like, the comparisons to Kobe scoring the ball it couldn't be more spot on. I mean, those 2 threes he hit at the end of the game to seal it. I mean, the one is he literally he pump faked. He didn't know if he wanted to shoot it. Takes really looks like a really bad shot, drills it. I mean, it basically throws the coffin in Texas Tech. I mean, you see that game last night. They were leading early. They were winning early. You know, they go into the locker room at half with a 3-point lead. Darren Peterson's not playing that well. I want to say he was shooting, I think, maybe 3 of 10 in the first half. So he wasn't shooting very well. You know, he was getting a lot of his points from the line. They come out the second half. They get down 10. They battle back. And then they close the game on a 10-2 run, and they walk out of Lubbock with a humongous top 15 win a win that propels them to 17-5, 7-2 in the Big 12. And I mean, that's just a marquee win. And that's a win where we could look back on the year and be like, this could have been the turning point for Kansas. This was the first legitimate complete game where Darren Peterson played 35 minutes, put up 19, and basically won the game, for the Kansas Jayhawks. And I think that's the biggest thing right now is if he's on the floor, I'd say they're a top 10 team easily if he's on the floor. Maybe even a top 7.
Probably.
If he's on the floor, they are that good. When he's not, look what they did with the bench points yesterday. They had 2. They had 2.
And that's going to be the kicker, I think, for this Kansas team. The starting, I don't necessarily know if it's exactly.
I'd say their starting 5 is solid.
With
outside of that, it's
your 5 of Peterson, White, Council, Badunga, Tiller is a 5 that I would take against nearly any starting 5 in the nation.
Especially with what Tiller did against BYU on Saturday. I mean, Tiller had 3 points last night, but he had 10 rebounds. So I mean, he wasn't scoring, but he was doing it on the boards. And then when against BYU, he had his coming out game and was fantastic. I mean, we can't sleep on Kansas as much as we want to. It's Bill Self. Bill Self, in the past couple of years has had really good talent, but hasn't had that guy. He's got that guy in Darren Peterson. Darren Peterson could take this team easily to the Sweet 16, Elite 8. If he can, like you said, if he can stay healthy, he's not dealing with cramps or hamstring injuries, this team can go deep.
I think, but the thing that stands out to me, though, is that when I get to March Madness, very rarely do I want to take a freshman, right? Last year was an exception where you look at Cooper Flagg and what he was able to do, right? In that Duke team, I mean, just blasphemous, just blow up at the end of that, Final Four game.
Yeah,
was nearly should have been playing for a national championship, being led by 2 freshmen. Right. Yeah. Really, maybe you could say 3 freshmen, but being led by pretty much 2 freshmen.
Yeah.
So
I had 5 guys get drafted.
Right. So, but
5.
you look at Darren Peterson. Darren Peterson is somebody that I would put in that conversation as well, where I would say, I know typically I don't want to bet on freshmen in March Madness. Darren Peterson is an exception, right? Cam Boozer, 100%. I would say also is an exception, right? There are people that are exceptions to that rule because they're mature in their game. They don't play the game like a freshman, right? I think there are plenty of guys out there that play the game like a freshman. I think Keaton Wagler's one who plays the game like a freshman. Yes, very, very good. Can have plenty of good games, right? Obviously, like what he did to Purdue. But I could see him having a game where he comes out and plays like a freshman, right? I don't see Darren Peterson doing that. In a given game, if Darren Peterson's on, you cannot guard him. That's the problem that I think I see is when you get down the stretch, think back to like the Purdue teams that used to have like Carson Edwards, right? When it's like down the stretch, it doesn't matter. We can't defend you.
Yeah, you can't defend him.
You get your shot every time. If you're going to hit your shot, we're screwed defensively. And I think that's what Darren Peterson has the ability to do. So overall, Kansas Jayhawks team, very, very impressive with him. Without him, I think it's going to help them down the stretch playing without him, right? Getting to allow, Trey White, Melvin Council, especially to take a step up in their game. But having said that, they need Darren Peterson to be healthy to be a Sweet 16 or better team.
I mean, I will say that is Fran Fraschilla had a really good point last night on the broadcast. He said basically what you just said of, when this Kansas team played without him earlier in the year, even with him, when they played with him, they still weren't that good because, it's a whole new team. You got to mesh all these guys together. So then he plays a few games, then he's out for his stretch. This team continues to build the camaraderie and they continue to build that team aspect. And then he comes back, plays, basically the whole first half against BYU. They basically beat the shit out of BYU. And then you come and look and see what they do, last night. They're a team. They're finally a team. They're playing like a team. And like you said, it's going to come down to injuries. Can he stay healthy? And can you get at least one guy off your bench to do something?
Yep.
You can't. Absolutely. I mean, they got lucky. I will say this. They got lucky last night. Christian Anderson didn't play. He was sick, but he sat there and watched the whole damn game. And you had 2 bench points. You got lucky and got a win.
And Toppin's in foul trouble the entire first half.
Exactly. Toppin had 3 fouls in the first half, and then their backup big man got 4, by the time it hit the 16-minute mark in the second half. So who's going to be that guy off the bench? Because we know it every year in March. There's always the team that's good enough, on paper. But who's going to be that guy that comes off the bench that can give them a consistent 8 to 10 points? Because you're going to need it. You're going to need it. It happens every year.
You don't need 15 or 20 out of a guy.
Yeah.
You need somebody to be able to come off the bench and give you 8, like you're using
Yes.
8 to 10. But okay, we've got 3 more teams that we've got, maybe 5 or 7 minutes left here. We got 3 more teams we're going to rapid fire talk about. First one, Alabama with Charles Bediako. This team is very, very different. I know we were texting about this. This team is very, very different with Bediako than they were without him. They needed him and his presence so badly. Having said that, their guard play is spectacularly magnificent, to just throw 2 adjectives at you there. They are so good, but they lack this defensive tenacity, I think. And it's just the Nate Oates way, right? And I think the problem is I've watched them play, and there's too many times they're so in love with the 3. Last year, they got away with it because of how good they were. You had Chris Youngblood, you had Philon and Holloway there, obviously Mark Sears. You had the ability to kind of go inside with a Grant Nelson that could drive the ball. Mark Sears could drive the ball. But I think the problem is this year, you're too in love with the 3 in that times I'm watching them at times, and there's plenty of situations where you have a layup if you cut to the rim, but you're cutting to the 3-point line. That's a problem to me. It is the Nate Oates way is not 3 points over layups. It's layups and dunks, 3-pointers, and then everything else. Layups and dunks are number 1 no matter what. It's not 3-pointers number 1. And I see situations where they're giving away layups and dunks to try to go get a 3. That's my problem with them. That's all I have for Bama. We got to keep this quick. I'm handing it over to you.
That's literally if you watched them on Sunday against Florida, they did that at least 10 plus times. And it shows too, because they only shot 13 free throws. They shot 13 free throws. They shot 34 3-pointers. They actually went 41% from deep, which is solid. But then they went and gave up 72 points in the paint to Florida. Shout out to Florida. Golden said he was going to do it. He said this is absolute bullshit that Alabama's bringing him back. He signed the 2 contracts. We know it. He shouldn't be here. He comes back. His first game, he is fantastic. Really helped them down low. And then Florida goes and says, how about this, and shoves it. And absolutely tears him up, makes him foul out. He finishes with 7 rebounds, 6 points. He gets heckled the whole game. Where's Alabama going to go from here? Alabama's not going to win a lot of games, and we both know this, giving up 83 points. It just doesn't work out that way. You'll win a handful of games because you'll be really hot from deep, and you'll make 20 in a game. But you're not going to win a game going 41% from 3, making only 14. For what Bama wants to do. It's just not going to win you ball games.
You're not going to win a game giving up 70 in the paint. That's for damn sure.
No, exactly. You almost got outscored in the paint by Florida alone. It's crazy.
Right. And I think so that Florida is one of the next team that we're going to talk about really quickly here. But final comment about Alabama. Yes, I hate the fact that Bediako's back, but he is back. So I'm not going to complain about it too much because he's back. So
we will see how long, though.
Yes, we will see how long. I hate the concept that he's back, but whatever. We'll move on. This Florida team, I think part of the reason why we saw Bediako struggle this weekend is not because of Bediako. It's because of this Florida team. Ruben Chinyelu,
he's on an insane run,
and Alex Condon are spectacular. Chinyelu has been unreal the last month of conference play. And I think what we're starting to see with this Florida team is them settle in a little bit. My problem with this Florida team is the absolute there's not even a word for it, how inconsistent their guard play is.
It's brutal.
It is when you get Boogie Fland or Xavier Lee to play well, this team is so good. So good because Thomas Huck is very good. You obviously have the interior play that's very good with Chinyelu, with Condon, right, with Handlogden that comes off the bench. You have very good interior play, but you
probably
need
the best.
Yeah, I would agree with that. You need Fland or Lee to play well, or Claptrard to come off and play very well as well off the bench. This team's so inconsistent with guard play, but the thing is their guards are good. They're just inconsistent. If they get on a stretch, this is a team that if they peak at the correct time, I don't think we've seen Florida's peak yet. If we see Florida peak at the correct time, like what they did last year, where they start to peak in the SEC tournament, they start to get settled, and they start to play this cohesive brand of basketball. Xavier Lee all of a sudden has a couple games where he shoots the ball well from 3. Boogie Fland's getting to the rim. This team's very, very dangerous come March.
I mean, there's a reason they're favored to win the SEC still. I mean, there's a reason. They are right now, in my eyes, the best team in the SEC. And that's no disrespect to Texas A&M. I love what they're doing there with Buckyball, but they're not to the level when you watch them play that this Florida team is. I mean, they have, like you said, they have some of the better guys down low in the country. I mean, you have Alex Condon, who was supposed to be an All-American and start of the year, preseason All-American. I mean, he's still been fantastic this year, but not nearly what people were propping him up to be. Then you got Ruben Chinler, who's come on, and he's been averaging a double-double the past, I think, 3 weeks. And then you got Thomas Houck, who's been a stud. In my eyes, he easily is at worst a second-team All-American guy. He's having a fantastic year. But then you look at the guards. They're not consistent enough. They aren't consistent enough at all. I think Boogie Flan is slowly starting to get there. I think he's showing the progression of being the type of guard that Cal thought he was going to be last year before the hand injury.
Yep.
And I think that he could be the guy down the stretch that gets it done. Xavier Lee, I hate him. And I think I've voiced that to you multiple times. I think one of the first shows we did this year talking about Florida, as I said, I think this guy's a bust. They wasted way too much money on this guy coming from Princeton, and I think I've been almost correct with that. I mean, in this 23-point win against Bama on Sunday, he played 17 minutes. I mean, he shot 3 of 11 from the field, 0 for 3 from deep. You can't have him on the floor because you don't need a point guard like that because Boogie Flan's the one that he brings up the floor. He's the one who's actually their main guy. He had 8 assists and 8 steals, so he's playing as your point guard. You got a shooting guard out there, undersized shooting guard, and he's not making shots. So that's where you go to the bench and you see Klavsvar, and he is playing fantastic. Played 27 minutes, gave you that 11 points off the bench on 50% shooting.
Yep.
So at what point do you bring him in, let Lee figure it out, come off the bench, not have that spotlight on him because obviously it was too much at the beginning of the year and still is too much for him, and then let him figure it out. Because I think that's not a horrible idea. Now, do I think they'll do it? Probably not. Obviously, it's working for Klavsvar to come off the bench. He's been putting up consistent numbers coming off the bench, being that 6th man, and being in that role. But you really need Xavier Lee to figure it out because this team has all the intangibles to be a Final Four team again. Yep. They're just missing that one outside presence because when you have a night where Boogie Flan only puts up 10, obviously that's not bad, but you don't have your shooting guard there to help him out and get you 12 plus. And usually that's where what hurts this Florida Gators team.
Absolutely. No, completely agreed there. So very dependent on the guard play there. Final team we're talking about here is the Illinois Fighting Illini. Obviously, they're up into the top 5 now, number 5 team in the most recent AP poll. A very good week last week going to Nebraska and beating Nebraska, getting a little bit of revenge on them there. This Illinois team, 2 things they're absolutely spectacular at. 1, rebounding the ball. That has always been the Brad Underwood way. They have always been a great rebounding team. They are a huge team. And then number 2, they defend without fouling. They are so good at defending without fouling. It is very, very impressive to me. They also shoot the absolute brakes off the ball. They are a very good shooting team. You look at their team, the guys that play minutes, every single one of them that plays more than 10 minutes a game is shooting 30+%, except Stojakovic is the only guy that's not shooting 30+%. And he's not a guy that anybody is going to not close out to. So he's somebody that I would compare to like Del Orso, who we really didn't talk about too much for Arizona, who statistically, percentage-wise, is not shooting great on the season. He is a good shooter.
Yes,
I mean, Del Orso's a great shooter, but Stojakovic is good enough of a shooter. It's not like teams are like, oh, he's only a 25%. No, we are closing out to him like he's a 35%er.
Yeah.
And I think this team in general, getting to play right now without Kylan Boswell is going to help them. Keaton Wagler obviously has elevated his game so much, but you do have Boswell. That's where I think that this Illinois team, similar to Arizona, where I said Jaden Bradley is a huge aspect of this, a huge asset for them. The emphasis that Kylan Boswell and Stojakovic will have down the stretch is going to allow Keaton Wagler to play like a freshman. Like I said, he might play like a freshman in a game and still win because you have leadership guard play behind him. This Illinois team is very good. This game this Saturday is going to be a great game at Michigan State. I'm obviously pulling for my Spartans in that, but this is going to be a great game and another good test for Wagler to see, can you mature as a freshman and get to the point where down the stretch you're not going to play like a freshman.
Yeah, I think this game Saturday honestly could be for the Big Ten. I think I trust in either Illinois or Michigan State more than I do Michigan. I know that's crazy, obviously, seeing what Michigan did at Michigan State. I think Michigan still is going to get knocked off, and I really do believe that, this Illinois team could run the table. I really believe they do. I mean, Keaton Walker, what a story. I mean, he was what, a top 150 recruit this year.
150,
Not
yeah.
even remotely close to being on anybody's draft board. A guy that, grew up an hour outside of Lawrence, Kansas, right under Bill Self's nose, doesn't give him the light of day. And, that probably put a bit of a toll on him. Because I'm sure that Keaton Walker wasn't that, he was probably dominating where he went to school. I'm sure he wasn't having a problem scoring the ball. Probably just wasn't getting the eyes on him that he should have. He comes here under Brand Underwood, and now he's going to be probably a top 10 pick, and gives this team a real chance to get to that past Sweet 16 level. They're going to get Killian Boswell back, and that only helps. Obviously, that only helps.
Yep.
And like you said, this is a team that they have 5-6 guys averaging over 10 points. They got the Vicic brothers. I don't see where this team really slips up. Like you said, they're fantastic on the defensive end. They're only giving up 68 points per game. They're scoring over 84 points per game. And, they've proven that they can get these big time wins. And I'm really impressed with what they've been able to do. Brad Underwood had a fantastic transfer portal and recruiting class. Let's see what they can do down the stretch. Are the freshmen going to be able to play like freshmen, but also still keep themselves calm, cool, and collected and go out and win these big time games down the stretch?
Yep. That's going to be the question for the Fighting Illini. But either way, we have a ton of good games coming. We'll have probably maybe one more episode this week, if not definitely one or two next week coming. Certainly one to recap the weekend games, but a ton of good stuff coming this Saturday. I mean, we have Duke, North Carolina at 6:30, which we didn't talk about either of those teams. We will be talking about them next episode for sure.
BYU, Houston at 10:30.
Yep, and we really didn't talk about either of those teams either. So we will be talking about all four of those teams on the next episode here. But other than that, this has been the Sports Geeks podcast. They play, we talk. Thanks for watching, guys. Peace.